towards the tree on that hill. That was incredible.
進撃の巨人の力で見た未来のためだってことは分かってるけどさ。どうしても僕をボコボコにしなきゃいけなかった理由って、全ては突き放した僕らを、エレンを討ち取り、人類を滅亡から救った英雄に仕立て上げるため。
Wow.
お前たちは生き残った人類すべての恩人になるだろう。島の悪魔でありながらパラディ島に背き、人道を貫いた。
They're having an aftermath conversation like this. Like what the plan was all along.
戦後のタイバー家みたいに壁外人類の報復からパラディ島を守れっていうの。残念だけど、僕もみんなも君の思い通りに英雄を演じるつもりはないよ。
Huh? You did though.
どこに？
俺たちが行きたかったところだ。
The places we wanted to go.
始祖ユミルの話を。
What? They're gonna walk to the sea? What is happening? How is this happening? Oh. Lava? They're visiting all kinds of sites from the book, aren't they? Just the wonders of the earth.
始祖ユミルが2000年間フリッツ王に従い続けているから、巨人の力が今も存在するって。
Oh.
故郷を焼かれ親を殺され舌を抜かれた相手に神に等しい力を手にした後も従順であり続けた。
Is that what the ultimate goal was? To stop making her obey him?
彼女に触れて感じたことがある。始祖ユミルはフリッツ王を愛していた。苦しみから解放してくれる誰かを求め続け、ついに現れた。
Yep.
それがミカサだ。
Mikasa. It wasn't Eren.
ミカサって言った？
Obviously it wasn't Eren.
やっぱり聞いてなかったが。
The Northern Lights, love it.
なんでミカサなの？
Why Mikasa? Yeah.
始祖ユミルにしかわからねえよ。俺が確実に分かっていたことはミカサがもたらした結果。すべてその結果に行き着くためだけに俺は進み続けた。
Interesting. So Eren actually wanted it all to happen like that.
パラディ島で殺し合いをさせてみんなを俺の大切な
Because it's the only thing that could have gotten Mikasa to kill him.
戦いに巻き込んだ。アルミ、俺は頭がめちゃくちゃになってしまった。
Is it because it's kind of...
力がもたらす影響には過去も未来もない。
There's no past or future. It all exists simultaneously.
仕方がなかったんだよ。
It's kind of reminding me of how Mikasa would never leave Eren's side.
ベルトルトはまだ死ぬべきじゃなかった。だから見逃した。最後に向かわせたの。
Damn. What is he saying? That he caused the whole thing therefore as well from the start?
何が？
ミカサのことだよ。エレンのことを忘れて誰かと幸せに生きていけると思う？君が望んだ。
さあ、わかんね
え。Dude, he had no other choice, man.
ないだろう。僕は許した覚えはないぞ。ミカサの恋心を無限にしたことはどう思ってるんだ。
Nah, I think it's fantastic actually that Eren had a different mindset than we thought. True. What, you trying to make him mad now? Oh man. Fine after me for at least 10 years. I guess he's being honest about that at least. That's fantastic. I'm still trying to process it all. Because this is telling us that Eren was doing the right thing. Yeah, he had no other choice.
俺と同じでみんな死にたくなかったはずだ。俺
Blood.
は8割だ。人類の8割を踏み殺した。
Living with the regret of that nonetheless.
俺は文字通り壁外人類の根絶を完遂しようとしてお前たちに阻止される。その結果が8割。
Yeah.
壁外世界はパラディ島と同等の文明レベルに陥ること。
Wow.
つまり一方的な報復戦争にはならないだろうが、この争いは終わらない。
なんだよそれは。僕たちがやったことは無駄だって言いたいのか。
I was gonna say,
まだ起きてない虐殺を止めるんだ。
just when I thought that,
お前たちが救える人類は2割までだ。もう決まっている。
it was all for the better.
バカなことを。残された教訓は殺すか殺されるか、それだけだよ。全ては僕たちのためにやったっていうのか。
いや、違う。エレン、お前は自由だ。
Wow. God, I'm fucking speechless, man.
俺は平らにしたかった。
Level everything.
すべてはお前らを守るためだ。
Was he grabbing some hairs in there?
サシャもハンジさんも俺のせいで死んで。
What's Armin picking up out of it? It's probably not the same thing.
わかるよ。この世から人を消し去ってしまいたいと思ったことなら僕にもある。
嘘つけ。お前がそんなことを。
He would think that about the bullies.
人類の2割を救った英雄だから。でもエレンに外の世界の本を見せてたのは僕だ。
He picked up a seashell.
エレンに想像させたのは僕
The
だ。
seashell from the season 3 finale.
いつでも足元にあったのに、いつも遠くばかり見てるから。
That was very representative of something.
僕に
And I didn't know what back
こ
then.
の景色を見せてくれて。これは僕たちがやったことだ。だからこれからはずっと一緒だね。
これからどこで。
Yeah.
あればだけど
In hell. Oh, God.
8割の人類を殺した罪を受けて苦しむ
Man.
二人で。
We'll be in hell, but at least we'll be together. Is this hell right here?
アルミ、時間だ。ここで過ごした記憶は消すが、全てが終わった時にまた思い出すだろう。
Interesting.
次は殺し合いだね。
先に待ってる。地獄で。
Man. I guess that's
ずっと
I guess that's coming too, but we probably won't see it in the show. But it's just like that's where they'll be meeting next.
思い出した。これはアルミ。
Still holding on to it. Man. Oh, dude. But Armin is remembering now, though, right?
戻ったんでしょ。
Yeah.
エレンが私たちに会いに来ていた時の。
To tell them about it all.
エレンがよ、母ちゃんも人に戻るって言ってたんだ。
Did he?
あいつが私たちに長生きしろ。
Yeah, well, they all turned back, right? Interesting, yeah.
余計なお世話なんだよ。死に急ぎやろう。そう。
Is it like suddenly they can all remember
私もお話ししたかったな。
conversations they had with him too? Except for some, apparently.
おかえりなさい。
ただいま。
Did everybody turn back? The people that were still alive as Titans?
よう、お前ら見ていてくれたか。これが結末
They're not actually here, are they? I was gonna say, he's just seeing things, but still. Unfortunately can't bring the dead back, but can bring the alive Titans back, at the very least. I'll take that. They can all see him too. God, this is all so amazingly done, man. Was that them falling into the sand there? Apparently not. She used to be proud of that. At first that he was. Man. So amazing, dude. The tree. Yeah, I guess that's where we're gonna be burying him. The tree. Must be. It's the perfect spot. It's like... Yeah. I think it was like outside the walls technically too, wasn't it? I'm not sure anymore, but I feel like it was. Although they weren't even allowed to go outside the walls though, right? Yeah, that's the thing, yeah. If they are regular people now, there is no need to see them as differently anymore. But how do you want to prove it? How do you prove it? Prove something you're not. Armand coming in with the speech, man. That's how he would convince them. Wow. Yeah, I was gonna say, but it's fascinating how there's that connection there with Mikasa always being like by Aaron's side no matter what, and it's very reminiscent of Amir with the king. And Mikasa just proved that she basically went against it, which I guess is like reason for her to feel the same and to stop existing, that it can be different. Oh man, whose kid is this? Oh, it's Astoria, right? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, she was living in this.
天と地の戦いと呼ばれたあの日から3年、喪失の最中にある世界が危惧する通り、エルディア国はイェーガー派が取り仕切る軍を結成し、
military.
力をつけています。
Interesting.
海の向こう側で生き残った人類の報復を恐れて、島は一丸となり声を上げます。
So they do have a
勝
nation.
てば生きる。戦わなければ勝てない。戦え。
What? Really? It's just like the real world. Yeah, okay. Well, that was the realistic scenario, I guess. It's a level playing field at the very least.
彼が私たちに望んだ人生ではありませんが、彼が望もうと望むまいと私たちには託されました。
何度見てもヒストリアの筆跡は美しい。
She's a goddess. Right. They're all going back.
本当にうまくいくと思
They're going to Paradise Island, though.
島を裏切って和平交渉の連合国大使を務めるなんて。
Oh!
私はこの辺りで撃沈されてもびっくりしないと思う。
Oh, they're literally going there to sort of convince him. They're not part of that, yeah, Eldian nation, actually. They're the Alliance, still. Yeah, that's... it's so much to take in.
調査兵団は夢見がちで諦めの悪い連中だから。
They don't know any better, that's the thing.
まだ殺されないさ。パラディ島のみんなは知りたいはず。
Yeah.
僕たちの物語を。
True. Levi's... Oh, they still left him in the wheelchair?
散々殺し合った者同士がどうしてパラディ島に現れ平和を訴えるのか。
Yeah, suddenly stopped and were advocating for peace. Beautiful, man. Super symbolic how they, yeah, growing life.
その全てを話そう。
エレン、もうすぐみんなが会いに来るよ。
I guess she went back early, yeah. Did they build like a new place there on the outside? Oh my god. Oh wow. Or is what we saw what would have been inside the walls? Actually, that's probably what it was, right? What we saw was usually inside the walls, maybe. But the walls are no longer there, of course.
あなたに会いたい。
Oh no, stealing the scarf from her. That's a sign. Oh, what did it do? Is that like it's a sign?
エレン、マフラーを巻いてくれて。
She didn't have the scarf? Damn. Oh my god, man. Are these the other guys standing with her at the grave? I think it was. And so time passes. Car. Families. I don't know if it's them. I don't know if we could ever make out who would be the ones we see there visiting the grave, but it could only be them though when you think about it, right? At least people who know about it. It's not gonna be random people, I would think. Unless they heard the stories. And it became like a really popular memorial place. Some monument. But if that was the case, I would think it would be even busier here. Holy shit, look at them building a whole city here. Oh my god, it's like an Eiffel Tower. Highway, planes. German music. Oh shit, they crashed into it. That's like a war that took place, isn't it? Ah, it's kind of like conflicting seeing this, man. It's like, yeah, well, that's what it's always going to turn into. Even the gravestone got just swallowed up. But it's like, that's life. That's fucking life, you know? I love how the show is just always realistic about everything. It's not some picture-perfect utopia type of thing. It's like, no, this is what's going to happen. And it, you know, it's both sad, but there's also in a certain way beauty in it. Like, that's just what it is. Guy with a dog? Who is this? This is probably like years and years and years later then, huh? Having seen all those events unfold. Yeah. Look what the tree even grew into, man. Oh my god, it's just like Emir. Isn't it? The little hole that she went into. Oh, what an open-ended way to... Wow. I love that. It's like, go and make your mind up what the hell that's about. Please don't tell me we're doing it all over again. Man, guys, where do I even begin? For the record, I just took about 20 minutes, I think, just coming fresh off the finale, trying to take everything in a little bit and figure out what my thoughts about it were, reading up on a couple of things I saw in like the Discord server too to see what other people were saying about it. But yeah, I feel like, I mean, it's not enough time to truly be able to talk about everything and say for certain, like, okay, this is how I feel about it, right? It's just like, it was too overwhelming of an experience. I noticed too while watching it that, like, first 45 minutes or so, I feel like I had the possibility to really sort of share thoughts. And then the last 45 minutes, I was like kind of speechless, man. I didn't even say much anymore. I felt, but yeah, I don't know how you all experienced that. That being said, I fucking loved it. I really did. And honestly, I don't even understand how people could have said that this felt rushed to them. If this is like actually almost a direct one-to-one recreation of the source material of the manga, then I feel like there was nothing rushed about this, really. I wonder what caused that experience for people, especially because we had literally about like half an hour here, basically a full chapter, right, of aftermath, technically. I mean, it was aftermath not just in the sense of seeing what the world obviously turned into afterwards, it was also Eren sort of explaining his mindset all along and a conversations that he had technically had with all his friends, apparently, in prior scenes through the show that we just never got to see and they never remembered because he took their memories away. Which I guess that's like part of what he would be able to do as the founding titan, right? Like take away memories and stuff. So it's kind of awesome how it played in on all those things. I mean, you'd be sort of inclined sometimes to forget about all the small details that have been told to you over the course of the show and still remembering like what was relevant and what wasn't, right? And yeah, like the memories is one of those things. We never really saw it come back as far as like altering people's memories and stuff, because we know that that's what the old kings used to do with their people and stuff, right? And now I realize it here, like, oh, that's what Eren chose to do with his friends then. And it's perfect, because we as the viewer, or viewers, we never realized it either up until now, because, you know, Eren supposedly wiped those memories, also from us, I guess, technically, right? You get what I'm saying. But, I love how the show actually answered a lot of the questions that I would ask myself. The main thing, people might remember this from my reviews of the earlier episodes, but also the recent video that I did going into this finale. Like, I was wondering how Isayama would answer the question of, is war an everlasting reality or can it be stopped altogether? And I love the answer that the show gave to us. It's like, no, war is an everlasting reality. And like, what I talked about as we saw the credits roll, right? We're seeing literally the place where Eren is buried. Be sort of swallowed up by warfare. Well, by warfare, but at first it's just like, oh, cities being built and stuff. And you can't help but feel a little bit conflicted watching it, right? But at the same time, I love that realization of like, yeah, but that's life. You know, we see it all around us. It kind of, if I can make a comparison to like another thing that a game actually that I play, it's like Red Dead Redemption. In Red Dead Redemption 2, you also see this like city being built. It's like the industrial buildings and everything, the smoke coming out of these reactors or whatever, right? That you're seeing around you, and it's like, man, this sucks to see because there used to be nature here. And that's what Attack on Titan just showed us here too. It's like, yeah, you saw how it started, what it turned into, but it's like also, yeah, that's just what life is and what it for us even has become, right? If you compare the world right now that we live in to thousands of years ago, which obviously we don't even really know what it looked like back then all too well. There's no captured photos, at least. There's obviously stories and things like that, and we can kind of picture it, but it's really hard to, I mean, obviously there was a lot more nature, there were less people, there was there's beauty in that, but at the same time, what are you gonna do to prevent it, right? Like, we see it now in the world around us too, you know, like the population just keeps growing and growing. I don't know how many billion people we have on the planet right now, but I feel like it's probably 8. But I I mean, honestly, I don't know for sure, but I feel like when I was young, there still used to be like 6 billion, and now it's like probably 8 or something like that. It keeps growing, right? And nature is being overtaken. And yeah, you can have all discussion about that, which I don't intend to do here at all. But I just love how Attack on Titan correlates to the real world in that way. That being said, so, okay, there's a couple more things to get into. That ending is fascinating, right? Not only with the scarf, and I realized it in hindsight, just, you know, going through it another time. Like, Mikasa was still wearing the scarf, it's just that the pigeon or the bird wrapped it around her in the same way that Eren would do, right? He would, like, fix it up for her and stuff, and it's like a sign, basically, that, like, Eren is still out there somewhere. He's thinking about you, I guess, right? It's kind of how I saw it. But I also like how, yeah, speaking of that realistic side of, like, okay, this is what happens to the world, the cycle also, it's like, okay, cycles keep going on too. And that final shot of seeing this guy with a dog walk into the tree in the same way that we saw Emiya walk in there, right? Back in season 4, episode 21, I would think it was. Yeah, also kind of like, you know, they didn't say it flat out. It's not like, oh, it's gonna happen all over again, or it's just like, oh yeah, you know, the story is gonna repeat itself or something, because I'm pretty sure we're done with Titans as a whole now. But it's at least, I feel, a sign of, okay, a new story is about to begin here, right? And it's like, are we ever gonna see that story? Probably not. We don't have to at all, but it's kind of, once again, the beauty of, okay, some things don't change, technically. It all goes hand in hand with that message that I talked about of, like, okay, because I would find it a cop-out if Isayama had actually answered that question of, like, is war an everlasting reality, with, like, no, war can be stopped, and we're gonna show you this utopia that's, like, possible to achieve. Because look at the world around you. It's like, okay, we're making progress in a certain sense, and I'm pretty sure the world is technically a more peaceful place than it's been, but at the same time, there's plenty of horror still happening all around the world. You know, even, of course, right now, there's plenty of relevant things to talk about there that I'm not gonna bring up, because that's not what the point of this discussion is, but it's just to show you that, like, we're never gonna get, I think, that full utopia either. And yeah, it's like, you can complain about it, it's just not gonna happen. And that's why, again, I like that about this story, because it in that way, it maintained realism. And I always try to approach things from a realistic angle. Yeah, and not talk too much in terms of, like, oh, idealism or something like that. But, so yeah, there is that. God, what else do I really talk about here? This is maybe the one, oh yeah, this is the other thing, right? Because as far as, like, Eren's mindset, I like how the show, Eren's mindset all this time didn't turn out to be as technically evil as we thought it was. Because and he even talks about it, and I need to rewatch that scene, but when he's sitting there with Armin, and they have all the sort of, like, blood, they're surrounded by blood, right? And by the corpses and everything that they've done, and Eren talks about, like, oh yeah, we'll meet each other again in hell, which is beautifully poetic, but, and obviously, as I said it during the reaction, we weren't going to see that, but it's like, okay, that's another sort of sight far ahead of us that you can dream about in a certain way, right? I noticed how Eren mentions, like, I wanted to level this place. And when he says I wanted to level this place, it sounds like, oh yeah, I just wanted to basically kill everybody, right? I wanted to trample everybody. But I also came to realize in the end that what it was about was not creating a world where only Eldians were alive, because that's what Eren reveals, right? Is that all along what it was about actually is wanting to create a level playing field for everybody. And this is, of course, what had been the problem all this time, is that you had technically two camps of people. You had regular people, not just Marlians, but the other nations as well, and you had the Eldians. The problem with the Eldians was that they had this power of being able to turn into Titans, and therefore posing a real threat, which is why the other nations could never accept them, right? And that's what obviously forced them to to basically be at war with them, or lock them up into these, camps, as we saw early on back in season 4. And what Eren actually did was not create a world with Eldians. No, it was to create a level playing field. And so I took those words differently than the way he might have said it even as he said it there, right? Like, I wanted to level this place. It sounded like he was just talking about, and maybe he honestly was. Maybe it's on me to interpret it that way, and that's not how I was supposed to do it. But I still feel like that's what it ultimately was about, right? Eren revealed here that his intentions weren't so much what he said at first. I mean, we knew that he didn't want to kill all those people. He surely wasn't doing it with a smile on his face, right? It seemed like what he was actually just doing it for was because he thought he had no other choice, and it was the only way to protect his friends. But even that wasn't actually true. He was still protecting his friends, but he also knew that by what he was doing, he could get Mikasa, I think, to kill him and bring the Dominion of Titans, or how do you want to call it, just the Titan powers in general, bring that whole side to an end. Get rid of Emir. Get rid of Eldians having these Titan abilities. That's what it was all about. And so, yeah, in the end, it is sort of a happy ending to me. It is like, oh, you can finally sort of get behind Eren again, and you knew that everything that he did was for the better. Even if, of course, even there you can argue like, yeah, well, he took down 80% of the world, as we mentioned, right? And he still wasn't able to really live with that fact very well. Clearly proven by the conversation he had with Armin and the tears that were shed and the conflicted way that he felt about it. And even making Mikasa do something like that, it's like, yeah, you're still gonna have to bear the consequences of that too. And that's it. Once again, it's another thing that reminds me that, like, you cannot create that ultimate utopia where everything was for the better. There are still negative consequences to what you did regardless. But that being said, I feel like this is a better outcome than any of the other outcomes we've talked about. Whether it's the euthanization plan or it's the, just killing everybody, right? The way Eren was supposed to be doing it. This was, the best thing there. Because it was a way for him to, well, I don't know. I mean, even there, you could argue, I feel with the euthanization plan, like at least the Eldians were going to go out. Like normal, technically, right? They were still gonna, sort of wait to die out. And that was, in a way, gonna solve the problems too for the world, right? We would have killed less people, but of course Eren didn't want to see his friends, completely perish and stuff. So, like I said, it continues to be complicated. And I don't have all the answers either, is what I'm trying to say, right? I think about these things, and I feel like I'm gonna be thinking about these things for the time being. This is not all the thoughts that I'm sharing here are not sort of set in stone, and it's not necessarily how I'm gonna continue feeling moving forward. No pun intended. Because I remember that even coming fresh off of Season 4 Part 2, I was almost unable to be... I found myself unable to be behind Eren, at all. I kind of felt like I'm completely pro Team Alliance, but then I came to realize that, like, well, Team Alliance, what you're trying to do here, though, knowing everything that we knew at that point, seems entirely pointless too, and it's what people kind of made me aware of in the comments there as well. Like, so what? You're just gonna kill Eren? You're gonna create a situation where you'll continue to be a threat by these people, and there's gonna be war too? You're just gonna let yourself be killed here? Is that what you want then? That's not actually a great outcome either, right? As much as it sucked to see Eren doing what he did. Like I said, I mean, I think the outcome that we got here ultimately was the best that we could have technically hoped for, and therefore I was really satisfied with it. There were some critique points that I saw, like some things being mentioned in the Discord about how, oh, yeah, now getting this revelation that Eren was the one actually sending the Titan after his mom himself is like a little bit weird. And there was a conversation he was having with Rhino where he asked him, why they had to send those Titans after his mom and stuff. And it's like, well, you actually knew already why, I guess, at that point, right? I don't know exactly how that works, but valid critique, I guess, right? There's a couple other things like, oh, now suddenly it turns out that Mikasa really was the key to it all in a certain sense. And Amir suddenly realized that, like, oh, it was about her all this time, and it's like it kind of came out of nowhere at the end there. Didn't have a lot of build up to it, and maybe that's sort of a part that, like, might feel a little bit rushed. I definitely get that, but that being said, I did really like, and I drew that comparison already during the reaction, how Mikasa and Emir actually share something there, right? Like, Mikasa was the kind of character that was dead set on following Eren no matter what. whatever his choices were, she always would have his back. And being put in the position now of actually having to be the one killing him there, being put against him and being willing to do it, right, herself. Ultimately, she made the choice that she did, is giving Amir proof that it can be done. Because Amir was the same slave. She was the same slave to the king. No matter how powerful she was, no matter how she was able to make all the choices of her own, that's the one thing she could not control, is, you know, like being possessed by him in a certain sense, or obsessed, I guess is the word I'm looking for, obsessed with him, and always wanting to have his back. Mikasa proved now that it could be done. You could step away from it, and therefore that's the thing that made Amir ultimately vanish too. Is kind of how I took it, right? Yeah, guys, I think for now I've shared enough thoughts for the time being. You know, maybe I'll be able to get back about this at some point in the near future. Make like a, you know, a nice little video or something, trying to cover it all once more and going over all my thoughts. Some other things that I could surely still be addressing about this finale, but for now I absolutely loved it. It was, yeah, it was a perfect send-off the way I felt about it, to what has been an absolutely insane journey. I hope you all enjoyed my reaction and of course my review to this final special of Attack on Titan. If you did, then of course don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel of course, and hit the notification bell, as I'll continue to be reacting to a bunch more anime and other TV shows over on my channel. Yeah, for now guys, I want to thank you all a lot for tuning in. I really hope, like I said, that you enjoyed hearing all my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, because I'd love to go through some of your thoughts and discuss it with you all, yeah, over there. But for now, I want to thank you all a lot for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you back on the channel very soon.